Hey everybody, Gaytheist here. I had a bolt of inspiration and I decided to call the local churches in my neighborhood. There are at least 10 of them within, I would say, a 2 mile radius. And they're a mixture, there's Baptist and there's Free Will, something or another. I can't keep all the denominations straight. Anyway, I had 5 questions for each of the churches. And the results were really surprising, but not surprising. The first question that I asked all of them was, do you offer any sort of homeless services? Clothing, food, shelter for the evening, or like during the day when it's storming, like it happens to be raining right now. Anything like that. Just homeless people that could just walk in and have shelter. None of them. Not a single one of them offers that to people. And I'm talking, these are huge buildings that seat more than 100 at any given moment. And I just was like, oh, okay, thank you. And a lot of them ask me, why are you asking these questions? And I'm like, well, I'm just trying to put together a list of social services that I could possibly recommend to people. And I need to know what a valid place would be. And the second question that I asked them was, do you do any kind of contribution to maybe battered women or children, that might be trying to get away from an abusive spouse or abusive, partner, mate, or whatever, just to give them sanctuary and shelter until maybe the police can come or anything like that. Again, the answer was no. I just kind of rolled my eyes. The third question was, do you offer anything such as rummage sales or food pantries or bake sales, anything that would contribute to a form of charity? Even if it costs somebody a little bit of money, but not free, And I got two of them out of the 10 plus churches that are within a 2 mile radius from my home. One of them does a food pantry every other week on a Monday. They don't even base it on how many people that you have in your household. So you could be 2 adults out of work with 2 children, and they're going to give you the same amount of food that they would give a single senior citizen or a single mother with, 3 kids or whatever. It's a predetermined amount. So they don't even take into consideration your hardship. And one other church, not even the same church, offers a rummage sale once every month. And she told me their prices are comparable to Goodwill. And I haven't been to Goodwill in a long time. And the reason that I haven't been to Goodwill in a long time is because their prices are outrageous for stuff that they acquired for free. They are currently, I know, in a mixture of lawsuits and settlements and things because they hire mentally retarded or developmentally disabled people to do a lot of their sorting, price tagging and things. They pay these people nearly nothing. And it's a big issue with, wage theft and stuff going on now. And it's a big issue now with Goodwill that, you're taking in all this free stuff. You are paying any employee that you have almost nothing. You're not showing us, where your money is going. They have stock rooms upon stock rooms full of stuff that is just bound up and twined up. And my sister used to work for them, and I asked her, I said, well, what happens to that? She said it sits there, and if it doesn't sell within 6 months, it goes to a landfill. So they don't even contribute the stuff that they can't sell to another charity or just give it away or whatever. And so this rummage sale church, I said, well, what do you sell? And they're like, oh, well, just whatever people happen to donate. They don't need any more. Sometimes we have clothing. Sometimes we have kitchen gadgets. Sometimes we have, different little things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. That's, a good resource or whatever. And trying not to be sarcastic. The fourth question that I asked them was, how do you feel about the LGBT community? Do you accept them into your congregation? Do you, preach damnation to them when they're in your congregation? Or, do you just accept them as they are? And I got one church that says, oh, we don't care who you are, or anything like that. We take in, gays and drunkards and all this kind of stuff. We don't care as long as you love Jesus, we love you, which, whatever, but at least they're not bigoted like all of the rest of them that said absolutely not. That was like the first thing that came out of their mouth. Absolutely not. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. And, well, yeah, I could believe it, don't get me wrong. And the final question was, since you don't offer any of these services, from the previous questions, could you, point me into the direction of maybe a church or an organization or a social office or something, that I could refer people to, and then I could even put your name on it saying, well, this place would reference you and say, that you're a good place to go to or something like that. And they're like, I really don't know. And it shocked me, as much as the church goes on about charity and Jesus and loving everyone and everything else, and to get this kind of sheer hypocritical nonsense from all of these churches that are just right around me. And I live in Akron, Ohio. I'll admit it, and I'm in a small little neighborhood, and it's ridiculous that we have, 6 churches just within my little neighborhood to 1 middle school, 1 high school, 1 elementary school, and 1 library. So all the schools are outnumbered by almost 2 to 1, if not 3 to 1. And it shocked me that it's like, so a battered woman with her infant knocks on your door and her husband's chasing her down the road with a knife or gun or whatever, and you're just going to tell her, I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to move on. That is the absolute deepest bullshit I have ever heard. And I didn't even bother to get into the scenario with every single church because I got tired after the first 3 of them telling me, I'm sorry, but we just can't do that. And I really, it took so much restraint not to go off on them about, your church preaches love and it preaches blah, 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 bullshit. And you would literally turn away a woman and her infant being chased by a murderous psycho. Thank you. You have confirmed to me that not only is your religion bullshit because you're the one supposed to be following it, you are totally hypocritical. And I don't put this on Christians. I do, but I don't. I put it on Christianity. If you're gonna follow a religion and be part of a religion, you need to follow it. I don't care what anyone else says. Don't come to me and say, oh, well, that's hypothetical, that's parable, that's this, that's that, or that's the Old Testament. We don't follow that. We follow the New Testament. Well, the New Testament doesn't count unless the Old Testament is there, because you can't have one without the other. They play off of each other. New Testament is Old Testament 2.0, okay? So I thought about maybe expanding my search through a wider radius because Akron is filled to the brim with churches. And it is just nauseating how many there are. And I noticed the other day I was driving down the main road here in town, and an old clothing store that went out of business 2 to 3 years ago has now been re-renovated into a brand new church. For what fucking purpose? I don't even see these churches around me ever have a full parking lot. Maybe 5 to 6 cars on Sundays and Wednesdays, unless there's some kind of event going on, fair weather Christians. So I'm like, I just can't understand that how they feel, oh, we're being oppressed and we're not allowed to do our Christian duty and we can't do this and do that and everything. But you want to sit there and say that we're going to be a Christian nation based on the Bible when you can't even get a local bottom level church to help the needy and the distressed and everything else. And it's utter bullshit. And I just can't understand how churches want to sit there and say, well, you can't put our religious freedom down because we're doing the work of Christ or whatever. Clearly, you are not. Or you would be helping the homeless. You would be helping the battered and the frightened. And you would be giving away things that are given to you. And I heard an argument the other day about, well, don't say tax the churches, from Hemant Menta over there on the Friendly Atheist, I think his channel is. And, he said, well, don't say tax the churches because then you're going to give them equal standing in the government. And I sort of agree with that, but not totally. And the thing is that churches get an exemption where they don't have to report where all of their income goes. And that's what needs to change. We need to know where these 10% tithes are going. We need to know where these gifts to God are going when the pastor's driving around in a freaking Mercedes or whatever high-end car and they're living in this multi-floor, dazzling mansion, when their congregants are pulling in old Chevy Beaters that are rusted and loud and falling apart and dragging their muffler down the road because they think that God will provide. And then they don't even realize they're throwing away 10% of their income that could have gone to their rent or their power or their food for the month. So, questions, comments. I'm not going to put my Facebook page on this one because it's more of a gay rights issue, that page. So everything will be on my Google Plus page for this one. So if you have questions or comments, whatever, like, subscribe, share it all over the place. I don't care. I welcome opposing opinions. I welcome apologists. I welcome anybody that wants to talk about it because I'll tell you what, I'm not the only one that is sick of it in this world. So have a nice day.